Annyeonghaseyo everyone. Drama Cult is back with the next installment of the review of It's Okay to Not Be Okay. Before we get into the review part, if this is your first time on our channel, do check out our reviews of the previous episodes and other amazing Asian drama content. If you have not subscribed to us, please do subscribe. Go on. Also smash the bell icon to be notified whenever we release a new video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter where we conduct various interesting discussions and polls. So let's get into the review part, and yeah, this is gonna be a spoiler review. Chapter 9 called King Donkey Ears. Okay, the writers of the show really did a number on my heart with this episode. It started off as a very light-hearted and sweet one, which had me smiling constantly like a fool until the last sequence when I turned into a teary-eyed mess. The highlight of the episode was definitely the acting of the three main characters. Kim So-hyung and Oh Jung-se portrayed the emotional turmoil of Kang-tae and Sang-tae exceptionally well, and So Ye-ji, who gave a subdued reaction to the interaction between Kang-tae and Sang-tae, but it conveyed much more than words could ever do. The dream world that she built for Kang-tae and herself was crumbling right in front of her eyes, and Moo-young felt completely helpless in that instance. It was an emotionally wrecking scene. Hats off to the three of them. All of them deserve all the daesangs of 2020 for the last sequence alone. When I saw the last sequence, I was wondering why Sang-tae was shouting out whatever was troubling him in that peculiar manner. Then I realized he was doing the same thing that the man in the story King Donkey Ears did. In one of the previous conversations that Moo-young and Sang-tae had, she told him to not hold on to any secrets or else he will end up like the man from the story who became so frustrated with the secret that he had to shout out everything to a forest. The forest then spreads the secret everywhere. Sang-tae was doing the same thing to a group of strangers in front of him. Trust me, I feel extremely sorry for the situation Kang-tae is in, but I can't bring myself to blame Sang-tae either. I feel sorry for the both of them. Kang-tae is torn between the affection or the obligation that he has towards his brother and the affection that he has for Moo-young. Sang-tae's outburst is fueled by the basic fear of losing his brother and the sense of betrayal that he felt because Kang-tae lied to him. As per usual, I loved all the sweet moments, including the cute little kiss between Moo-young and Kang-tae. We were able to clearly see how they were healing each other. Kang-tae was taming Moo-young and Moo-young was doing quite the opposite to him, which was definitely what they both needed. One thing that I want to point out here is this series is not just about the leads healing each other emotionally. The same happens for supporting characters as well. Be it Mr. Lee helping Judy overcome her heartbreak over Kang-tae, or Jung-tae, the alcoholic, vowing to be a better person because of his love for Arim. I especially love the way the love story between Jung-tae and Arim was handled, despite them not being in their perfect mental state. And I have to say, Mr. Lee is a sweetheart. Him confessing that one of the reasons that he stuck by Moo-young was because she was lonely made me like him more. It was good to see Judy's character taking a turn for the better. Handling of her character in a very two-dimensional way was the one gripe that I had with the show until this episode. Now that is being handled. She is coming to terms with the relationship between Moo-young and Kang-tae, and this honestly made me happy. Judy starting to read Moo-young's book was definitely a nice touch. Moving on to chapter 10 called The Girl Who Cried Wolf. From the ending of episode 9, it was clear that this episode was gonna be super emotional, and boy, it sure was. The series delivered us with the longest episode so far, and the pain felt by each of the three main characters lingered on throughout the episode. Kang-tae taking a step back and leaving Moo-young alone in the cursed castle really hurt me. Kang-tae accepting himself as a whole is gonna be the biggest hurdle in his character development. He does not or should not have to sacrifice a part of his life for the other. That would be an injustice to both himself and to the people around him. Juri perfectly sums this up when she says to Kangte, if you want to make the people around you happy, you must find your own happiness first. Being selfish is not always a bad thing. And that is my favorite quote from this episode. Almost every character in the drama asks their loved ones to make a choice as to whom do they love more at some point or the other. When Moon Young asks the same question to Mr. Lee, he answers it beautifully by comparing human emotions to different shades of color or a rainbow. He explains that love can never be finite and so people can't be ranked based on how much you love them. That was so beautiful and it couldn't have been explained in a more perfect way. The scene where Kang Tae apologized to Sang Tae for all the mistakes that he made as a kid, for wishing Sang Tae was dead or that he was normal or for trying to run away, was really touching. Now that Sang Tae opened up about that unfortunate incident, I really hope they are able to truly move on from it, and for that, Kang Tae would have to explain his side of the story to Sang Tae, as Sang Tae seems to only selectively remember the story and not the truth. Both of them asking each other not to abandon the other person clearly showed they really need each other to survive. Sang Tae acknowledging that their mom was good towards him and bad towards Kang Tae was definitely a noteworthy moment. Okay, I found a new addition to my list of favorite characters in the series, and that is Juri's mom. It was so nice of her to take care of both Kang Tae and Moo Young by putting them before her or her daughter's personal preferences. Regarding Park Ok-ran being Moon Young's mom, I'm really skeptical. I'm leaning more towards her being a poser. The references made by Ok-ran to Othello was interesting. Othello murders his wife based on a misunderstanding that is created in his mind by the manipulative Iago. I wonder if this reference has more significance to it and that I can see a potential for the same. Also, the lady Ok-ran must be cooking up a plan to mess up the relationship between Kang Tae and Sang Tae, and that must be the reason why she left the book Murder of the Witch of the West for Sang Tae to read. I feel so proud for Moon Young's character. She has come a long way from how she was when we first saw her. Clear indication of that was shown when she bargains with Sang Tae to get him to talk to her again. Past Moon Young wouldn't have done that. She acted in a mature way when she sat down to talk to Juri over drinks. Past Moon Young wouldn't have done that either. In contrast to the emotional wreckage that we had to endure throughout this episode, the preview of the next episode seems really hopeful. This has gotten me all excited and I can't wait for next Saturday. So that's all for the review of episode 9 and 10. I hope you guys liked it. Please look forward to more reviews from our channel. Do subscribe to us. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. Go and just click on the button on the bottom right corner of the video. And also don't forget to click the like button and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Also share the video with your fellow K-drama fans. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter for more interactive and exclusive Asian drama content. That's it for now guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.